Welcome to the Empower Hour podcast. I am your host, Amber Dobkins. And the purpose of this podcast is to inspire women to embrace their inner voice and speak their truth. Today, we are kicking off the Embody Your Most Courageous Self series. You will hear from 8 amazing women on how they embodied their courage and their power. I'm so excited for you to meet these women who are speaking in this series. And today's guest is a powerful woman who went from struggling with anxiety, depression, the onset of early menopause. And as a doctor, she found that she was taking care of everyone else except herself. She went from being a member on the medical board with surgeons to closing her practice and becoming a health empowerment advocate. Today, she empowers women, or people, I should say, to heal thyself and take care of their mind, body, and spirit. Not only all of that, but she's also an author in the new book, Jaguar Medicine, which comes out in January 2022. And her chapter in the book is called Prescribing Seasoned Wisdom for the New Earth. I'm so excited to chat today with my Jaguar sister, Dr. Denise Tropia. Welcome, Dr. Denise.
Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure. Love the intro. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You've done some fabulous things in your life, and I'm so excited to hear about it. But I want to start with a quote that you shared with me when we chatted the other day. And that quote is that happiness is an inside job. Can you tell us more about what that means to you?
What it means to me is that we really have to dig deep and find where that happiness lies, because it's all internal. Everything that we came into this world with is still there. That happiness, the joy, the purpose, the passion, it's all in there. But as time goes on, it kind of gets crowded in. It kind of gets suffocated to the point where can we find happiness by shopping, traveling, other people? For me, it was all short-lived, in which, yes, I love my family, my daughters, my husband, went on trips. But at the end of the day, what actually makes you happy? What is true happiness? And that comes from within and utilizing the gifts that you have to offer.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more. Um, Finding happiness within can transform your life to where it just makes everything a little bit more beautiful instead of searching for it everywhere. I love how you put that. So thank you for sharing that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, my chapter in Jaguar Medicine is about embodying your most courageous self. So, I would love to hear more about how you embodied your most courageous self.
Well, I never thought I could, but I believed in myself and I did. And being courageous to me meant really stepping out of that comfort zone and saying, what do I want? What is making me tick? What is igniting my fire? Yes, being in medicine for about 30 years and then having a practice for 27 years, I was in business for myself, and I've always been. Not in the early days. I worked in hospitals and all that. That was all part of, my medical background. That spans since 1984. So long time. Probably some of you aren't even born yet. But, been there, done that. And then when you reflect on things and things start to come up, and things also hit you in the head, like for me, it was illness. It was like, you're not taking care of yourself, so you better start doing that, as my inner voice told me. And that was in my early 40s. So the courage to say, okay, I'm going to heal myself. I know there's more to this than just, okay, I'll go to the doctor, I'll take medicine. No, that did not align with me back then either. And so as time went on and I become on the journey of discovering yoga and eating healthier, supplementation, which I've always, I guess for the last 40 years or so, I've always been a big proponent of, because I know we're not getting it in our food sources. So we need to supplement, yes. So I've always, just had that background of, what could we do to empower our own health? So that was my journey to start. And then the courage came after I said, more of this is coming up. Things are coming up that I have to look at right here, look at, and I have to go through it. Cannot go above it, cannot go below it. I have to go through it. And I guess a big courage for me to take that stand was to close my practice and say, I am done with that because I am so malaligned that I need to get myself on that track of where I need to be, where my purpose is, where my passion is. And that's really how it all came about as well. So doing that and then entering into the alternative modalities, which I've always been a big fan of as well. I believe, we can merge that mainstream with alternative. Yes, there's a place for one and a place for another, but also the empowerment of our own health, my health, and people around me.
Yes, I love that. So really taking it into our own hands, is that kind of what I think I hear you saying, is that taking our health and our wellness in our own hands and finding what works for us, what's true for us, and listen to our bodies to see what it truly needs, and find that in nature through food and other things, not just prescribed medicine, but also prescribing the medicine of nature, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think we have become so disconnected, the lifestyles that we lead today, and I think there are some people that have really started that journey. Uh, people that I have met along the way. Some will, some won't. Some it's not their path. Some it is. Some want answers. Everyone's at a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And we are. Do I have a lot more to learn? Of course. I don't think we're ever done learning what's going to be for our highest good, learning the good, the bad, the indifferent, how we see things. I see things different than you do. And I think that's where it all has to come together and not be with that judgment. Um, and that's another big part of it too. As we are multidimensional and we see the way things are in 3D and 4D and however you want to go up on the realms. Um, so and where you are at is different for everyone.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And being okay with where we are in the process. Because I know for me, there's been so many times where I wanted to be further ahead than I was, and I began to judge myself to in that and not allowing the process to unfold before me. So I was actually judging myself just probably more than I was judging anything or anyone else. And that became difficult. But I could see how that fits into the mental wellness that brings physical wellness and spiritual and emotional wellness.
Yes, it's all connected. As much as there's such a disconnect, it's connected. Your body is going to harbor those emotions. It's going to tell you what's going on. That's why I got very interested in with medical intuitives, like as I talk about in my chapter with Carolyn Meese, and just reading her books and listening to her. It's like, okay, it just all of a sudden I absorb it, and I said, yes, I can help people with that. I can help people with that. Just like my yoga training, I can help people with that. I may not be doing yoga where I'm standing on my head and do splits but I can get there and help senior groups, for example, do yoga in a chair to get them moving. Because people always ask me, what's the one most important thing you have to do as you get on in years? And I say, move your body and don't stop.
Yeah, It's true. Movement, I mean, it's so good for us physically, but I find even emotionally, the movement helps me release things that I'm holding on to, or
Mhm.
that I want to invite in, the vibrations that I want to bring in and the vibrations that I want to let go of. So I totally agree. Movement seems to be very healing.
Oh, it is. And that's where when I first discovered yoga, that was the first thing I did. When I went to the cardiologist, I was having issues. And she said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, put your prescription pad away and I'm going to yoga." That's what I said. And then I joined the yoga facility very close to my home, which was good. And that was back in like '09. And I've been doing it ever since. Things changed a bit in the last year and a half, of course, but I still have all those modalities to utilize. Now things that are starting to open up again. I've gone to some senior centers. I've done a couple of, with yoga in a chair. And then I want to work with the kids too. I work with a nonprofit. It's called First Step Nevada. And we work with a variety of people, young, old, you name it, the gamut. And I feel that I can become one of their instructors, which I will. I've done a couple of senior groups, and now we'll do the kids. And, kids, they just, they love it. They love that type of orchestration and, going with the utilizing their brain and give them things to do and the yoga modalities. I just think it's going to be great. We'll start that in next year. So right now things are starting to open up where getting back involved with the community the way I've always been. Really, I used to be with the Diabetes Association, the Lions Club, do foot screenings, all that type of thing, years ago. And then after a while, you just kind of reinvent, where else am I going to go? So then I started doing a lot of health education, got involved with wellness groups, and talked about how to regain and maintain your health.
Mm, that is so needed today, I believe. So I think your work is so empowering and that you're getting out there in the community and working with the people face to face is so amazing.
And that's the best thing. For me, it was face to face. When we shut down, and I was like, oh gosh. And especially with my work being such hands on, being a podiatrist, foot surgeon, wound specialist, not too much you can do virtually. Everything for me is, the hands on with the patients. Uh, so being, shut in for a little bit, at least a couple months or so. I mean, even when I had my children, I never took that much time off. Even when I gave birth, I was like, I'll be back in a few weeks.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. It has been very challenging. I mean, I think the being shut in has allowed us to be creative in how we can continue our work. So it sounds like you did that. You found a creative way to continue um, putting your message out there and being that health advocate.
Yes, that's where a lot of the webinars came into play, and the health education. We also had a series about a year and a half ago with a bunch of people that I networked with. It was a health and wellness networking group, and we decided to do things online, and we did. So we have a library of over like 20 plus videos, all health related. And we had so many different people to contribute, everyone from holistic nutritionists, shamans, metaphysical, myself doing a lot of the health education from a disease standpoint, chronic condition standpoint, DNA, nutrition, supplementation, kind of the list goes on. And when I look back, I was the one that brought a lot of these people together. And that was the beautiful thing about it. It was a big networking hub of people just with the same focus. of how to find that optimal, health. Once again, I guess where my space comes from is the physical, because we know with the physical, getting that in a little better shape and working on that, chipping away at that, then the mental starts to get better. And then it builds from there. Because I had seen so many people in the yoga that I saw their metamorphosis, their change that they had. And I guess the change in myself as well, yes. But you don't really see yourself as much changing, but you see other people. And just seeing these people change for their most highest good, things coming out, things releasing, because we did so many workshops. I've been to Sedona many times, and I was going for a while there, like every 6 months. It was just wonderful to go to the retreat center and just be and enjoy. And I think that's what we need to do these days, is become human beings and not doings, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I see so many people overworking, overthinking, becoming overwhelmed. It's the over achieving, I feel like, where we are doing too much and not just being and allowing our body to sometimes rest. Because yes, movement is great, but I think sometimes resting too and just being with ourselves is so powerful.
Yes, yes, that balance is, because yeah, I was over everything. And to the point where I was just over it. And also writing the chapter first in Sovereign and now in Jaguar Medicine, um, really, I think that just helps so much. Once again, it's another phase of going through to get it out there, to get the voice out there, to open this up. Okay. And I know for so many years, it's just been repressed and just said, okay, do what I'm supposed to do. And when you get to that point where you're like, nope, it's got to come out. It's got to be released. It has to be transmuted.
Mm.
I found very interesting when I was in a session with the gal I was going to for shaman work. She was doing some healing on me. She's also teaches bioresonance. So she was very helpful in really aiding me in how to transmute, having the triggers of the anger and the grief and the sadness, and transmuting that, because there are so many emotions that we do have. Yes, they're in motion, but we have to then transmute. So I thought that transmutation was very powerful for me, to the point where that helped me to turn to that point where I said, yes, I'm going to get it out there. Now, when I was younger with English classes and writing, I would freeze up and say, oh no, I can't do I can't do this. I can't do this. Math and science, loved it. But English and writing and putting your thoughts on paper. But with doing these books, contributing to them, that put me right where I wanted, to be at that time right now. And yes, there'll probably be more to come. Right now, I think I'm good though, where I'm at and where I'm working on to get to that next level.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I've also, this is my second book, so anthologies where I'm sharing a chapter, and there's layers that I feel like the stories that, at least for me, that I'm sharing, I feel like I've healed and now I can share the story, but the writing process brings another layer to it that seems to it brings more healing and empowerment through sharing that story and realizing that we did a lot of work to get where we are, and the power of doing that inner work and finding that wisdom within and then sharing it is just a beautiful process for me.
It's beautiful, painful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, it's not all, peaches and cream. That's for sure. Uh, a lot of the work I've had done over the years has been a big help, in the releasing process, transmuting, recognizing where I'm going, and also realizing where I've been,
Mm.
and also in prior lifetimes and moving forward. A lot of validation there, which I think is very helpful for all of us. We all want that checks and balances in a sense. Some of it you just go with on faith, you just go with that intuition. And writing the chapter in Jaguar Medicine, I was like, oh, what am I going to write about? And then I was getting very tense. And then things started to flow. And I even had spanned back to like 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. I spanned back to just about when I was, 8, 10 years old, thinking about, how my life was then, living in New York, how close I was with my grandmother. They lived below us, Brownstone in New York City. And we lived upstairs, they lived downstairs. I lived in the Italian Jewish neighborhood. It was just bringing back that childhood, and was very healing as well. Sure, there are things that happen in your childhood that you may not remember, but it was very powerful for me to have that realization that that energy was still there,
Mm.
and how to work with that. Even though I really don't remember it, I remember the timelines. When I was 4 or 5, this happened, 6 and 7, and etc. At 13, we moved to New Jersey. So, by then, yeah, I remember pretty clearly my life in high school and moving on to that. But going back to that childhood, I think was helpful with healing, because of the fact that being an empath, and I didn't know at the time, I was just a sensitive little girl that cried all the time and always asking why, and wanting to know more, and loving science and reading about science all the time. So that was, very healing. That was. So these are the things that are on the to-do list when you're on this journey.
Hmm. Yeah, and with the writing process, at least with Jaguar Medicine, and I know Sovereign and Jaguar Medicine, the two books that you're in, were both through the publisher Shannon. So in Kiva Publishing. But I love how they bring a support system to help us write these stories and feel kind of a sisterhood, and like we can lean on each other and share some of the things that we're going through, so that we can get through that writing process and that healing as we're writing and sharing and remembering all of the things that we've accumulated in our life to bring into our medicine and integrating that medicine.
Oh, I agree. It's fairly seamless with how they have it set up. Very supportive, as you said, and meeting Shannon and the rest of the people were, once again, it brings you to where you want to be, the next level. Like I said, it just really helped to open up more things, meeting and connecting with some people from Sovereign. One I did know, Jody Friedman. She's the one that invited me. She's from Las Vegas, and I've been to many sessions with her, meditation sessions, Akashic records, and even where she came from. She came from the corporate world, and now look where she's at. And also some of the other women that I connected with, and connected with you, and it's just we're all on that path, and at the end of the day, our vision is pretty much the same, and that is to work with, help humanity, heal ourselves, and then we wind up healing others.
Mm.
And I really feel that now manifestation, my intent, my vision, we're there. I feel we're there to that step. And I'm still putting that out there of where my next chapter in life will be. I'm semi-retired out of medicine, and I know I will be fully soon. It's when the time is right for that. But now that I have a chance for working on myself and doing more with the community and really branching out is really going to make that difference.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can see that. And I've noticed that you've said when the time is right, or doing like your purpose or what you're meant to do. How do you find that you know when the time is right or what it is you're meant to do? What's a good opportunities for you?
Well, I think from a first standpoint, it's always that financial.
That-
You know,
Good
we
one.
have to have that, that base, pay the bills, and take care of our families. But with me, it will come to really having the support system that is solid. A solid support system will then bring us to the next level. I have certain people that I am working with, and it's going to come with utilizing their expertise from a business standpoint, the financial standpoint, and utilizing what I have to offer from the medical. Yes, I would love to open up, a wellness clinic, you know, being and bring it to that point where people can make it affordable for people. This is where it's at. People should not have to be suppressed. When I look at it from the medical space, it's suppression. And I know that. And there are ways that we have to bring that alternative to the table and do it through a certain way. Because some people aren't going to like it. So it comes with having that at the right time and the right place. The wellness center, the people where they can go and begin to optimize their health. And I do believe that the alternative modalities are going to come in much stronger. They've been there, they've always been there. It's just bringing them out where they need to be for people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Allowing the pieces to come in that you need to bring the bigger vision into reality. I think a lot of times people get ahead of themselves and they get this idea and they kind of go for it, whether they have the money or the means or the support. And so I love how you put that. We're kind of waiting for the right things to fall in, or at least that's how I understood what you said.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
There are times I feel like I'm in a holding pattern. I'm circling that airport, waiting to land, but that's okay. That's okay. Like I said, I had a successful business for years. I didn't close my practice because it didn't make money. No, it did. But look at how hard I had to work and under what circumstances, being enslaved by the healthcare industry and insurance companies and et cetera. So, that's when I said, okay, time to get out. And I don't want to go back to that space again. And that's okay. I don't have to at this point. And I probably won't. But when I do, it's going to be definitely in a different realm.
I love that you found what works for you, what is true for you, and how you can best serve yourself and others. And I love how you really take the science and the spiritual side and blend it all together. That really, that mind, body, spirit, you really do bring all of that together. And I think it's beautiful how you do that.
And it's so much needed today, what we're seeing. So much has risen to the surface, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we need to be able to help people to navigate that. And it's going to be different. Like I said, it's going to be different for everyone, but that's okay. I think the thing that you don't want to do is, it has to be more welcoming than, pulling back. And so I just feel that when people feel, they feel comfortable, they feel welcome, they feel safe,
Yes.
that's all important. And I just look at the patient doctor relationship that I've had with many, many, many patients over the years. And that's what I had with them, a relationship. So some were excellent, some were difficult, some didn't work, but that's the way it's going to be. But I've always learned in that if you're a healthcare, you're providing advice for people, healthcare provider, that you have to be on their level, speaking what they can understand. Because if they understand what they need to do, then they'll do it. But if you don't understand it, it's going to be like way over your head, and it's going to be tuned out.
I agree. And I feel like there's so many different ways to care for our health that sometimes it can get jumbled. Like, do I do this or do I do that? Or, where somebody that has sound information that brings it all together for you and helps you understand, like you said, the why to do this, so that then when you do it, like, maybe I don't really want to eat this piece of broccoli, but if I know this piece of broccoli is going to nourish my cells and provide my body with better health, then I'm willing to eat it, even if I don't want to.
Yes, that's right. And we do have to do things that maybe don't feel good, but we have to do it. And that's where free will comes in as well. We can either do it or not do it. But then again, we have to be prepared for whatever consequences, may or may not, happen. But also, whatever the decision is, I've learned to, we have to be respectful of that. And that's where all, the judgment comes in. And no, I mean, we're living in a world now where there's a lot going on, and that's definitely a loaded statement right there. But I think by standing firm in what we believe in and what we want to achieve, and this is why we're here right now, with one of the sovereign sisters, I had my soul contract done, and it was just very interesting, that soul contract, and talking about all the when you were born and the numbers and the signs and just everything together. Once again, it's a validation. And if I am a very powerful person and I do have that strength, then even though times I don't feel that way, but I'm still going to go with it. Like when I started the chapter in Jaguar Medicine, I said, trust your gut. This is our gut feeling. And I'm going to trust it, and I'm going to go with it. Once again, we cannot see it, but we can feel it.
Yes, so true. I totally agree. So you shared a little bit about yoga and about following your intuition. Are there other practices that you feel really helped you step into that courage and embody that empowerment? Like even deciding to close your practice, knowing there was financial income there. To a lot of people, it may not make logical sense, but it sounds like you had some truth or intuition that were telling you it's time. There's something else for you, and really that takes a lot of courage to make that decision and step into something else, especially after how many years you were in the medical practice.
Yes, and it did. But at that time, I really didn't have as many, financial obligations, being the fact that my daughters were college. One was almost done, and the other one was starting, but at least we had the means put aside for them. So I felt that a lot of the stress was off of me. And I've always had, the visions of, really getting out there and discussing, well, what people need to do to help themselves and putting it in those terms, in the easier terms for people to understand. So I've always had that, desire to do that, especially, going on webinars and going out there with the yoga. And so I think right now that things are starting to open up, I can do more and more of that. So what helps me is just discussing it, helping people, seeing the change, discussing with them those modalities that they can do from a nutritional standpoint, from, of course, the physical, and also how we have that potential inside of us. We have that divine being inside of us. So a lot of it does come from me learning, learning from others, reading books, putting it all, together. I enjoy reading Greg Braden because of the science and spirituality. He comes from a science space as well. And when we think that they are just so divided, they really are not. They're very much interwoven. So, no, there are times when I'll say, okay, well, what am I really doing, with my wellness type business? Well, sometimes it's very difficult to explain. If you went to a networking meeting, they want to know, well, what's your target audience? What's the age group? What's this? Well, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to put it out there. If it resonates with people and helps them, and they want to get in touch with me to discuss certain things, yeah, let's talk. Because that's the first place you have to be with, is communication with others, opening it up, getting it out there, putting it out in the universe. So that's kind of where I've been, but I know where I want to go. So I'm with the manifestation of that, with a wellness clinic, with being that medical person that can bridge it, together. I think more of the bridging of that, and with everyone else that has their specialties that they do. So I think really what's helped me out the most is believing in myself, listening to myself, my yoga, my meditation practice. Yes, that does help too, because it helps to clear the mind. And also the fact that it's okay. If you're not feeling okay, that's okay. Go with it. When people would say, when I was having a really tough time on the journey, and one of my mentors would say, well, embrace it. I'll say, I don't want to. But we have to.
Yes, I have found that to be true for myself also, sitting with it and allowing it to be felt and processed, because otherwise I stuff it down and I don't release it. And when I hold that in, it affects my wellness. And then then it comes back up later. I get triggered, or at some point, it feels like I have to deal with it no matter what. So I've learned to really trust the process, as you're speaking about, and letting it emerge when it comes up.
Well, what we resist will persist. As we well know, that'll come back into our mind. And also triggers play a big part. And also awareness. When we talk about awareness, it's a very, very powerful word. I learned with my yoga practice. And as we take ourselves out of the situation and we look in, because for so many years we were just on the hamster wheel, let's go with, right? On the hamster wheel, and we never got off. And then we just kept going and going. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Self-awareness was something big for me also, and becoming the observer so that I could see that within myself. Because I feel like for so many years I was reactive. I took things personally. Oh, that hurts my feelings. I don't want to know that. But when we sit with it and say, okay, this isn't personal. Someone might be sharing something with us to help us, or finding it within ourselves and transforming that and transmuting it, as you started the whole conversation off with today. I think really awareness is the key. It's the beginning to unlocking that door to a whole new world where finding that happiness within can come from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where it all starts. Like I said, it all starts with us, with ourselves, making that change. When we look at what's happening on planet Earth right now, as a whole, as a collective, there it is. It's coming to the surface. A lot of those struggles, a lot of the conflicts, a lot of the evil, a lot, there's just all that stuff coming up. It has to. It has to, as we had gone through all our journeys and saw when things started coming up. And it's like, well, you can put it down, like you said, gonna come up, put it down. Or if you continue to put it down and compress it, then what do we start with? The depression, anxiety, the physical ailments,
Yeah.
and there you go. How many people do we know that are really going through, tough times, whether it's economically, socially, um, just the list goes on today, what we are seeing, hearing. Um, but also always deep down, it's like, well, what can I do to help? I can't, help, heal the world, but whatever difference that I can make, as well as other people that are here for that reason. I've read some of Dolores Cannon's work, and I've also had a quantum healing session done um, a few years back. And she was just such a visionary. And here we are now, even though she passed a number of years back. So I've read some of her books and looked at her insight with that subconscious being so, so powerful. That's another aspect of it.
Yes, for sure. I love all the authors that you've mentioned today. I also follow many of them, and Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, who bring the science and the spirituality together. They are very powerful. That we can have that right at our hands today, and get the information. It's powerful information.
Yes, yes, because it does. It just further solidifies, okay, what are we doing? We're on that path too. I mean, when you listen to their stories, their personal stories where they've been, it's just, unbelievable. Currently, I write a column in Ascension magazine. I should put it on the Facebook page. Yes, Sherilyn Fields, she is the editor, and wonderful articles in there. And I do a column, Ask Dr. Denise, and people send in questions and I answer them like a Dear Abby, right?
I love it.
And bringing together, science with spirituality. But in meeting with Sherilyn the other day, she said, you know what the meaning of life is? Living in the frequency of Earth. That's what she said. Life, living in frequency of Earth. And I said, yes, that's what it is. We're here in this frequency
Mm.
on Earth, in our physical body. And it's definitely a huge undertaking of where we are, now. But those are the things that I enjoy doing, like writing on the column. And I'm going to be working a little more with her, with the magazine. We have a December issue out now, and then the February issue will be out. Got some more ideas for that. But everything we're talking about too is going with quantum. Quantum, the energy, tapping into that energy, the energy of that we cannot see, but we know it's all around us. And this is where it's all going to, that other dimension of energy, our divinity, our source. That's where it's all going to. So when I read about things, upgrade your DNA and different things like that, it all comes from being at that higher vibration of energy. Because there's a lot of lower vibrations, yes, and that has to do with our emotions of being angry, depressed, sadness, sickness, illness, different viruses, different bacteria. They all have that lower frequency. Same thing with cancer cells. I mean, that's all in the lower realm. But can we rise up higher? If we rise up higher, we will be in a higher dimension, and we will upgrade our DNA so we can become healthier and heal.
Yes. I just feel that in my being, like what you just said was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I totally agree. I love the quantum realm and all of that. And I know some people, it's hard for them to understand, but I think starting with some of those books and really digging into the authors and speakers on that subject really helps open that up and see how we can move forward for people that are new in learning more about that.
Well, when you even merge the science and spirituality, look at Nikola Tesla. He was the first one to discover the scalar waves, Tesla waves, wireless. And this was many, many, many years ago. But his discoveries were suppressed. So here you go. So, then it just keeps, so really it's been there. It's always here. It's been there all the time. It's just how it's now going to be presented to humanity, and how humanity has to understand that. I think when you're in the healing realm, alternative modalities, doing all the energy work, you're already tapped into it. Already. So here we are. So now it's just a matter of bringing it out there for people to be able to accept that, more. Yes, because people want to see things. They need to see it to believe it. But when you look at what the scientists have done over the years, like I said, with Tesla, and then there's also people that have done cell resonance, knowing that our cells are communicating all the time. The DNA communicates all the time. But yes, there's a lot of biochemical reactions, but there's much, much more. And that's where the quantum comes in. That's where there's that Cryon calls an innate, that innate source. How do we know what to do? Well, because it's already been determined what to do through quantum.
So powerful. So how can people get in touch with you, or if they want to work with you? Do you want to share a little bit about how you work with people, or even about your chapter in Jaguar Medicine?
Oh, yes. Well, you can get in touch with me. I'll give my email, and it's be healthy, BEE healthy 2016 at gmail.com. So feel free to email me. That would be great. I currently, I was on a website known as a Soulful Rosie, SOULROSIE.com. Soulful Rosie. You can go to that website, and also you can read more about me. Working with, it's called the Triple Crown of Health and Wellness. And right now we're just really in a stage of, where we're going to go next with the modalities. So it's in preparation for everything that we're going to be, doing probably in 22, now that we're running out of time in 21, right? So as we embark into the new year. So email is probably the best way to get in touch with me. With my chapter in Jaguar Medicine, yes, I talk about how we are now rebirthing the new earth by really tapping into that quantum energy. Once we tap into that and connection with that, it's really going to make a change. The change is coming. It's going to be, once again, everything, it's slow. It took so many years. It's going to take a little while too. But I think when people are starting to become more aware, more open, willing to research different modalities, when things are status quo and people are comfortable, it's like, okay, whatever, we're good. But when it's not, they're looking for something else. And I think the time of collaboration is here. I like, thank you very much for having me here today. I really enjoy just getting it out there. People learn more about me, learn more about, how we connect, how you are. And that's just the way it is. That's how we're forming our whole network, really. So a lot of it does is that what I like to do is whatever I can do to add to someone else that they are bringing to the table, what they're bringing. Also talk about the science aspect of it and where we're going with the new rebirth, I call it, of healthcare, where we really need to be. The old paradigms are definitely collapsing, as we see. They really are. And people are, once again, they're starting to think about, let me think about this and let me make my own decision. That's the first step.
Yes, I completely agree. So, well, it has been fabulous talking with you. I've enjoyed hearing your story and some of where you came from, and your thoughts on where we're going. And I will just finish off by leaving our viewers with this quote: "You hold the courage within. Allow it to emerge moment by moment until you embody your most courageous self."